Mr. Pinchbeck, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. It's absolutely my pleasure to be here.
So, the holiday season has begun, and with flurries starting in some regions and piling up in others, ski and snowboard enthusiasts are getting ready to get back on the slopes. And though it is the time to celebrate and have fun, safety is important too. So, is it safe to be out on the slopes now?
Yes, we believe so. Ontario, Canada's ski areas have worked diligently over the last 2 winters to make sure that we're ready to welcome guests in a very safe manner. In fact, although Ontario resorts were closed, that was no fault of their own last year. It was true that we did not see one documented case of skier to skier or skier to guest, skier to employee transmission of COVID-19 across all of North America.
Mm-hmm. So, like, what's the current state of skiing in Canada?
Well, the current state is actually fairly healthy, although revenues were down because so many of our business units, whether that was restaurants or ski lessons or other things that you've come to expect on a typical holiday, were closed or severely limited last year due to the precautions that we took. The actual participation number, the people who went out last year, was very strong. We didn't have any international travelers, and yet we did very well domestically. And when you factor in the fact that Ontario probably lost 2.5 million skier visits last year while it was closed for the 7 weeks, we probably set a new domestic participation record. So demand is strong. Safety is also strong. We're looking forward to a good season.
So, I was reading some reports, and it's like, several skiing resorts in Canada, they are facing this massive shortage of staff. So, and the skiing season is already here. So do you think this will impact the excitement Canadians have for the sport?
Honestly, I don't think it will impact the excitement that Canadians have initially for the sport. I think where it will impact and will hurt us is Canadians' desire to make that next visit and the visit after that. And most Canadians ski between 6 and 6.5 days a year on average. Of course, the half days because it's an average. I would like to see that increase. The goal of my organization, the Canadian Ski Council, is to add an extra day to that participation rate over the next 5 years. And certainly if one can't enjoy a nice cup of coffee, can't get a ski lesson, can't get their rental equipment in a timely fashion, that all adds up to a barrier for people coming out to that for that next visit. We're going to always operate in the most safe manner. So the emphasis is on ski patrol and on lifts and things like that. But truly, your breakfast in the morning might be a bit slower than usual.
Yeah. So, are there any recent changes in the state of skiing in Canada?
In terms of changes, no, we've certainly rolled out quite a bit of our COVID operating protocols and worked very, very closely with both public health at the provincial and, of course, at the regional level. So there are some minor variations in how everyone will approach skiing regionally this year. For example, the province of Quebec has instituted a government-mandated mandatory double vaccination policy to access the ski hills. Quebec skiers are dealing with that right now, and so far it does not seem to have blunted enthusiasm for being on the slopes. The rest of Canada will also have similar varying restrictions. I think the biggest thing for skiers and snowboarders in Canada that's changed over the last 2 years is the need to do two things. Know what's happening before you go. So check that website, call that resort your favorite place so that you know exactly what's happening, and plan ahead. And this is related to that know before you go. Buy your tickets and your products in advance, because oftentimes many resorts will not sell day of lift tickets this year. They will only be booking online, and that's simply for contact tracing and to make sure that we can manage crowding.
Mm-hmm. And are there any safety protocols that guests should expect this season?
Well, the truth is, it's going to look a lot like we would normally experience if we went to a shopping mall for the holiday period, or for over to a restaurant. Indoor dining, indoor facilities will be required to show proof of double vaccination and appropriate ID. One will be wearing a mask. One will be asked to maintain physical distancing wherever possible. Outdoors in Ontario and for much of Canada, outdoors is going to be less emphasis on masks and physical distancing, because quite frankly, we know more about the virus now as a country. We know that the outdoor environment is safer and poses less of a risk of transmission, and so we've been able to relax our restrictions there so that people can get out, enjoy their full day on the slopes, but we're maintaining the inside precautions where it's so very important.
And what are the like easy and economical ways to start skiing regardless of the age?
Oh, regardless of the age, you can start skiing at any age, or snowboarding for that matter. That's actually, what I provide. The services my organization is asked to provide to the industry by Canada Skiers is to create that pathway into the sport. And so we have a website called goskiinggosnowboarding.ca. And that website itself provides a great deal of information and know-how and tips and tricks on how to get into the sport and how to enjoy it, because our sport can be a bit daunting to get into. It's a complex sport, but it's very fun and very social. One of the things that we'll be rolling out very shortly is a product that we call Never Ever Days, which is ideal as a beginner tool. It's a lift ticket, a lesson, and a rental, plus a whole bunch of other activities for the day at participating ski areas around the country. The idea of this $25 package is to give you that first sample of what skiing and snowboarding are like and give you a chance to enjoy it. And then we send you offers based on the resort that you participate at that are designed to bring you back, because we do believe that it takes more than one visit to become a skier and snowboarder. So that is a fantastic way to get into the sport. In terms of equipment and things like that, I always recommend that you look into specialty shops, and many specialty shops will sell your old equipment at a discount. Even clothing, things like that. The ski areas themselves are also doing seasonal rentals now, so you can then affordably rent a set of equipment, skis or snowboard, etc., for the entire season, and that really helps lower the initial cost. So there's lots of tips and tricks. Just ask. We're happy to help.
And are there any other programs available by your council which can help people who are interested in this sport?
Yes, we run another program aimed at families, and what we do is that we allow 9 and 10-year-old children to acquire something called the grade 4 and 5 snow pass, which entitles the child to 2 visits at each of the participating ski areas in Canada over the 2-year lifespan of the program. So someone could visit about 200 times over the next 2 years. I would like to try that and do that, but it's a great way for kids and their families to get into the sport. We lower the overall cost. We know that skiing and snowboarding is one of the greatest family, if not the greatest winter family sport there is to do together. And so we're really encouraging the entire family group to come out by giving the kids a discount. And that program now is 25 years old, and it's still going strong across the country.
Mm-hmm. And before I wrap up, I want to ask you, what according to you are the places that Canadians should visit for skiing in Canada?
Oh, that might be showing some favoritism. I think the first place to visit when you're on that interested in skiing is go to the closest resort to you. In Toronto, in Calgary, Vancouver, Montreal, Quebec City, there are a myriad of slightly smaller resorts that offer a great family experience for not a lot of money. The next thing is go to a slightly larger resort. I happen to be very close here to Blue Mountain, Ontario, one of the larger ski areas in Canada in terms of visitation. They're a great experience too, because they bring that travel tour, dare I say, glamour into the sport. And then honestly, visit one of our mountain resorts, whether it's in Quebec, whether it's in Alberta or British Columbia. It's some of the most stunning scenery that you're ever going to see. And I think that's what's really interesting about participating in snow sports is we get to do our sport, whether you're a Nordic skier, a snowboarder, or an alpine skier, we get to do it in these incredible locations. I've been fortunate over my 30 plus years in the industry to ski in very many places around the world. There is nothing like standing on the top of a mountain, looking out at mountain peaks and white snow. It's just something quintessentially Canadian that doesn't happen in many other sports.
Mm-hmm. So anybody who has no experience in skiing, they can do this sport, right?
Absolutely. A couple things have happened there. I think our methods of instruction have improved from the stories of 40 years ago, and our equipment has improved. So no longer we call them shape skis, or there have been many names over the last little while, but these are just like golf, just like tennis. There's been emphasis on making the equipment easier to use, and I think ski manufacturers and snowboard manufacturers have done their best to make the sport very easy to learn and easy to get into.
And it is this perception, people think that this sports requires equipment and like it's very expensive. So is it true?
I think it is a bit more expensive than simply running down to the local track and running around, but ultimately I think there are ways to save on skiing and snowboarding. Certainly the seasonal rentals I mentioned earlier, so you don't need to own equipment. Once we get out of COVID, you probably won't need to own things like appropriate winter skiing attire, because many skiers now rent the clean the ski wear. They've stopped that during COVID, but so you can stay warm on the slopes. Lift tickets and lessons often are coming at discounts for non-peak times. That's one thing that's changed in our industry. We've noted a lot more intelligence when it comes to how one prices their products. And so I think there are ways to inexpensively, safely, and enjoyably. And in no way, shape, or form is it an extreme activity. We've fallen into that trap of skiing being something where one throws oneself off of a mountain cliff. That's not so. Most of skiing is very much about a pleasurable experience, sliding on groomed runs in control with your friends and family.
Well, thank you, Mr. Pinchbeck, for talking to us and sharing your insight. And I'm sure a lot of people will now get into this sport. People who were scared earlier, now they'll be more interested.
Honestly, thank you for having me. And I do hope more people get into the sport. I think Canada has changed remarkably. The face of skiing is changing, the face of snowboarding, and come on up to the hills. I'd love to see you out there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.